Marcus Samuelsson, welcome to Meet the Press.
Welcome to Marcus, DC.
Thank you. It is such an honor to be here and to be sitting with you. You have an absolutely extraordinary story. You came to the United States 30 years ago. You were born in
30 years ago.
Yes.
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 I can't even believe
years
it.
ago.
Yes.
When you hear that,
Yes.
it really hits you,
Yes.
right? You were born in Ethiopia in the middle of a civil war. You were adopted by parents in Sweden. You grew up there. You have now become a renowned chef who really puts a focus on Black and African cooking. Why is this your life's work?
Well, I would say even before that, being born in Ethiopia in a hut, basically the size of 2 restaurant tables. I always say that's like, I was born in a hut the size of 2 four tops in my restaurant. And I say that because even to my own, my kids, like just to have some grasp the idea that being American and our family, we come from a very simple background, but we do everything every day to work really, really hard and show that you can make a difference. And with that, I've also been extremely lucky and fortunate, right? And I have a lot of gratitude to my Ethiopian mother that in the middle of a tuberculosis, my sister, myself, and her had TB, and she walked us to a hospital. She didn't survive. My sister and I survived. And the other thing, part of my journey, is also the goodness of others, random people that just out of pure love or care took care of us. In that hospital, when we were cured, the nurse took us in. She had 3 kids of her own, and she just took us and set us up for adoption because she knew if she would just put us on the street, what would happen to these 2 kids, right? So my story, I wouldn't be here sitting with you if it wouldn't be for so many people that really have both sacrificed but also helped me. So I do realize I'm extremely fortunate as well.
And as I listen to you tell that story, I just think about the strength and power of your mother, who in the midst of facing a deadly illness walked you to the hospital.
Yeah.
Energy she probably didn't have, but she found it to save your life.
There's so many days when if I see a young mother with 2 kids, particularly when I'm in Africa or Ethiopia, I was like, that could have been us, right? But then also, there's a lot of joy. Adoption is a story by itself. And I grew up in Sweden. I went from the warmest country in the world to the coldest country in the world. But there's a lot of joy in my story. I went from being Kasahunsa guy to Marcus Samuelsson. I went from trading injera bread and eating with my hands to herring. But it was a lot of love in my story. And that's what I always want to convey. Being adopted does not mean that me and my sister didn't have parents. We had amazing parents. We were raised around love and compassion and hard work ethic. And without my Swedish parents, I also wouldn't be here, right? So when someone says, oh, you've done so much, no one has done anything on their own. And I'm an example of that.
Well, you have done so much. Let's talk a little bit about what you've done in 30 years, 12 restaurants, all around the world. You just opened up this beautiful restaurant, Marcus, DC, here in the nation's capital. Why has it been so important to you to build on that goal of showcasing African and Black food to the world?
I think it's an evolution. Sometimes when you are adopted, my experience of being adopted is it's almost like your identity, you can live it backwards, right? And when I decided to be a chef, it was really for my Swedish grandmother, Helga. She raised us all around good cooking, and I fell in love with it. The deliciousness of our cooking, but also the storytelling. And when I became a chef, there was only one cuisine in the world that people told us was important. It was French cooking. And as a young Black chef, I never saw anyone looking like me. So I found more identity around Black excellence, whether it was Prince or whether it was Basquiat or whether it was incredible American pop culture, right? So I studied these French books. I traveled. I worked in Japan. I worked in Switzerland. I worked in 3-star Michelin in France. And I had to learn several different languages. And everywhere I was the only person of color. And I had a lot of questions around that. Where do I fit in? What is my restaurant going to look like? Do I cook African food? Do I cook Swedish food? Do I cook French food? And as a young 20-something that wanted to cook and understand my identity, it was a journey. And I was told many times that don't even think about opening a restaurant because no one's going to come and support a black restaurant. And there was many examples told me. Chef told me many times, do you know any black-owned restaurant? I said, no, I don't. Do you know anyone in Europe? No, I don't. So for me, I knew I had to go to America. And I was very fortunate because being Swedish, there was a Swedish restaurant called Aquavit in New York City, and therefore I had an opportunity to come to America in the mid-90s. And as I was becoming, a 3-star chef, being just 24 years old, I cooked Swedish food, which was deeply rooted in my identity, but I also wanted to know about the non-monolithic journey of black culinary, right? So the heart of that, for me, was to learn about African-American cooking, what we consider soul food, right? Which was, for me, the foundation of American food, black cooking in general. But the black experience is obviously not monolithic. You can be black from Haiti, you can be black from Jamaica, you can be black from American from Africa. And for me, searching for my Ethiopian identity through food, through the place I was living in Harlem, in New York City, what would that taste like? That was a journey for me.
I wonder, you were told that it would be nearly impossible for someone who had your skin color to actually own a restaurant. How do you push past that kind of pessimism, quite frankly, and accomplish everything that you've accomplished?
Well, many experiences, right? I know that, again, I go back to the hut. So I come from an extraordinary environment. My Swedish grandmother was a live-in maid, so I know we come from hard work ethic. My father was a geologist, so he could transcend coming from a fishing village. So I drew from all of those experiences. So I'm like, Chef, that might be your small, narrow experience from where you are. That's not mine. So I always say that you have to have work ethic and humility on this shoulder and arrogance and excellence on that shoulder. So I knew once I came to America, I was the richest guy in the world. I had a job, $300, 5 roommates. I knew I would be successful.
The richest person in the world with $300
Yes.
in your pocket.
Cannot tell me wrong,
It speaks to the strength that your ancestors, that your parents, your grandmother gave you.
But it also speaks to the possibilities and the beacon that America is for so many, specifically immigrants. Like, we never stop believing in this idea of what an imperfect and a perfect America can look like. And every immigrant, whether you come here by boat, whether you come here across borders, we believe that we can add value. Just get me in, and I'm going to work hard. And sometimes that message doesn't get across, but my lived experience is that once I get in, once I become American, I'm going to do this. And I did.
I want to talk more about your grandmother and your start in cooking in just a moment, but I just wanted to lay out everything you've accomplished. This is just some of it, by the way, but I have to read my notes because there's so many things. You've won the James Beard Award for Rising Star Chef. In 2009, you were selected as the guest chef for President Obama's first state dinner. You've competed in, you've won multiple cooking competitions, some of my favorite shows, Top Chef, also Chopped. When you think back to that little boy who was born in a hut in Ethiopia, could you have ever dreamed this big?
No, I couldn't, but I do know that my parents truly invested. It gave me experience of excellence, and they also, in their Swedish middle class idea, knew that raising black kids would not always be easy to the outside world. Even the way with my father, our names, they picked Marcus instead of Kasahun. We spoke English at home a lot because my parents always thought that maybe the kids are not going to stay in Sweden, right? So you have this late 70s, early 80s kids experience, but growing up with my parents envisioning a global experience, right? That's not normal, but that was my parents' understanding of that the kids that we're raising are for the world, you know, and excellence was always part of it. You know, my father comes from a fishing village, pretty poor fishing village, poor background, but not poor in identity and culture and ambition. So from his fishing village to becoming a world-class geologist that worked all over the world, that for me made it clear that he didn't know anything about cooking, but he knew about excellence. He always told me, if you're going to pick this profession, treat it like a Harvard PhD, right? How long does it take? He had a PhD, so he's like, okay, it takes about between 7 and 9 years. So your journey of being a student is going to be around 7 to 9 years. If you work really hard, maybe you can do it in 6. And that's what we did. He sent me. I was sent to Japan. I was sent to Austria. I was sent to Switzerland. So excellence and understanding as a person of color, that my level of excellence might have to be higher. That was not something that was not talked about in the household. That was actually something that was talked about in the household.
And you talk about your grandmother, the fact that she really introduced you to food and your love of food. What was it about your grandmother that showed you the power of cooking and food?
Humbleness and deliciousness combined, right? Very simple ingredients, but oh boy, what did her dinner taste good, right? And I had really measurements, right? In Sweden, you get school lunches that are cooked, that are very good lunches, right? So for example, Swedish meatballs. If my mom made Swedish meatball, they were good. If I had meatballs in school, they were okay. But if we had meatballs with grandma, they were delicious. So right there, the most iconic Swedish dish, I could measure whatever she was doing to it. And of course it was care, but it was also her lived experience, right? Where poverty is in the root of it, because, you know, this is a leftover dish, right? There was the ground, mixed the pork with a little bit of beef, with a lot of breadcrumbs. Why was the breadcrumbs in there, right? Because I didn't have that much meat, right? So in a simple dish like that, you can really taste a journey. So for me, understanding Black food and American food, there's a couple of things in here that I want to identify. Our journey is not monolithic, right? So we talk so much about culture and identity, and most people don't understand that culture, food, identity is not a monolithic journey just because you say something is Black. It's, you know, for me, how much of my Ethiopian side can I introduce to my guest? How much of that culture, this push and pull, does my guest want to taste, right? When you come to an Italian restaurant, that restaurant makes it clear from the get-go that we're an Italian restaurant, we're extremely proud of it, as they should. When you come to, and the restaurant is Italian, but for everybody, right? When it comes to Black cooking, this generation of Black chefs wants to show that we American chefs, the most exciting food in the world right now is happening in America, but it's not necessarily only French. It's the way America looks like. It's Latin, it's Asian American, it's African American, it's European American, but it cooks from a sense of place and identity. So as a Black immigrant, as an African immigrant, I want to share and tell those stories. It's normal. It's what if you go to a Japanese restaurant, you want Japanese American food, right? So that we shouldn't hide our identities. We should welcome our guests. We should welcome the culture and bring it to the plate.
You speak with such pride about being an immigrant. And you've said one of your most memorable experiences of all of these remarkable experiences you've had is the day that you were sworn in as a U.S. citizen. Why was that so meaningful for you? And why is that so much a part of what you bring to every dish, every restaurant?
I would say, besides my kids being born and the day we got married, I would say that's the most important day in my life, because it was also a sign of a journey that I do belong. I have a place, because I wanted, immigrants who choose to come to America, especially for me. I could live in a very comfortable country, and I love Sweden as well. But in America, I was allowed to hold on to my Ethiopian identity, my Swedish culture, but also at the same time being American. And as a chef, I can cook from all of these experiences, right? And that's one of the unique and incredible things about being American is that we as people, we are we are layered, we have complex journeys. And through food, I identify that and I can share that with you, not only to talk about it, but I can make it delicious. And I can make you feel and taste my story. One of the most powerful things you can actually possibly do.
Do you think the American dream is still available to immigrants today in the way that it was for you when you first got here?
I definitely think the American dream, I want to believe, and I do believe in the American dream. I am an example of that. You know, one of the things that is incredible with America is that the American dream is living out loud. It lives on social media. It's noisy. The most iconic things that are true American, right? Hip hop, music. It's noisy, but it's from a place, but it's truly American, right? It's, you know, rock and roll, whatever it is, right? Whatever period of American pop culture, it's noisy, but it's what the rest of the world aspires to, right? And now, I think the American dream is alive. You just have to fight and battle for it more than ever. And I know we will, because the American dream, it's not a 4-year cycle. It's much larger than that. It's something that, you know, the imperfection or the perfection of my American journey doesn't have an end to it. You know, my kids are born and raised in Harlem. They are truly born in America, but they're equally proud of their Swedish and Ethiopian background. And that's what it means to be American.
You've also talked extensively about the racism that you faced in this country when you were trying to get your start. How did you push past that? How did you find the strength? And did you ever feel dissuaded? Did you ever feel like, I can't make it here?
Well, ism's going to face everybody in any journey. And I think the way I was raised, we talked about it early. My parents, both my mom and dad, knew that sending these kids out to the world would not easy is not part of being black, right? It's something, and we dealt with that early. Any black household or any household, we spoke about excellence and work ethic. Racism happened since I was a child, but did it discourage my journey and purpose of being the best that I can be in cooking? Absolutely not. It made me stronger in a way, not the fact that I wanted it, but I knew it would happen.
Because you were so determined.
I'm determined, of course. I mean, you know, I have to separate becoming American and easy. It's not combined ever. And becoming great at anything and easy, I mean, you are one of one. You are doing a job that millions of people aspire and trying to get. Well, without knowing you well, I know easy was not part of that journey. You were the best in your class many, many times. So was I, by far.
You had to be.
Had to be, of course. But it's like you're an athlete. And yes, this is a hard thing to overcome. And sometimes you want to give up, but that's part of the journey, right? So when I got 3 stars as a 24-year-old, right, the youngest chef ever, that didn't mean, that wasn't the end of the story. That was the handshake. Welcome, New York City. Or every one of these milestones, winning James Beard Awards many, many times over. That wasn't the beginning. You know, that's not the starting of the journey. That opens a new door, right? And you have, part of being American is that you constantly have to evolve, right? You constantly have to, what does it mean to be an immigrant in the mid-90s in New York, Julian Giuliani? Easy? Not so much. What does it mean to be becoming American in the mid-2000s? Many difficult things. I mean, for me, being a chef post 9/11, it's one of the emotional and one of the hardest things I've ever experienced. I worked in the tower a week before 9/11 happened. So both from an emotional, but also from a practical point of view, you're never the same after that, right? So probably one of the toughest things the toughest things New York City, and we as a country have gone through, and then you run a restaurant at the same time, not easy at all. Or owning a high-end restaurant in Midtown during 2008, during the financial crisis, extremely difficult to navigate through that, or through the pandemic, right? But would I stop? Would I give up? That's not what the hospitality community is about, right? We are an incredible large tent of hardworking people and by all colors, all ethnicities, but we're proud to be Americans, whether you are picking the vegetables, whether you're the customers, whether you're the line cook or the server. I actually think the American experience can be seen best through hospitality and restaurants, because all aspects of our communities, our country, is touched by the restaurant and hospitality community.
So what would you tell young chefs of color today who are starting out, who might feel dissuaded, who might feel like the hurdles are too high? What would your message be to them?
Well, for me, I've dedicated my whole life to make sure that chefs of color is going to have options. When I write a cookbook, it's very often in response to when I was coming up, it was very hard to get cookbooks by chefs of colors. But first of all, so when I wrote The Rise, it was a look back of past incredible African-American chefs like Leah Chase, like Sylvia Woods. So it's a look back of who was before us. It's also in the present. Here are the chefs that are here now, and also peeking into the future, right? And for me, it's really about my journey was set because of chefs like Leah Chase, Patrick Clark, and Sylvia Woods. This generation young chefs that's coming up now, I want to give them options, right? That's why I started something like the Rise Residency Program, where young chefs can work with artists and have residencies, right? So our work through the restaurants is really about setting up the next generation. But discouragement, being any creative and then figuring out to have an audience around that, right, is the challenge, no matter who you are, no matter what identity, and in that journey, where does self fit into that, and how do you share that? It's extremely complex, but there lies the deliciousness, right? What I think, the fact that today we can say, not only in New York, that you have someone like Mishama in Savannah, that you have Nina Compton in New Orleans, that you have Chef Kwame, that you have Greg Godet in Portland, that chefs of color that are all over the countries are setting up opportunities and platforms and setting the standard for audiences and guests, but also workplaces for young chefs. And when you work for a chef of color, it's just like when I work for a French chef or when I work for a Japanese chef. It's that chef's take on their particular journey. Now, what could be more American than that? So I think the day-to-day, if you turn on news, can be challenging, but you got to have the capability to see beyond that and see yourself, project yourself in the future. When I was training for a chef, I never saw myself just being in this moment peeling the tomatoes. I saw myself driving a kitchen that was in a major city that was relevant, and that's what I'm doing. So it's not about where you are today, it's really about where do you want to go.
One of the biggest issues that you have taken on is the issue of food insecurity. Mm-hmm. One of the greatest crises that we face as a country and quite frankly as a global community. Mm-hmm. What is your current focus in terms of trying to make sure that more kids in this country have full meals, are able to go to school, are able to learn? And what is your message to policymakers who can make a difference when it comes to food insecurity?
Well, the food insecurity is, we talk about how we constantly can improve our government. Food insecurity shouldn't be even on the table in 2025-26. We have so much food in this country and actually in the world. It's all about how we distribute it, right? It's all about a value proposition, who we value and who we don't value. And that's a sadness in this, because whatever's happening throughout the world, whether it's Ukraine, Gaza, or in Africa. And what do we end up doing? Rather than sending food, we're burning food based on principles, right? So this is happening globally, this is happening locally, and it needs to stop. We have enough food, we know how to solve this, and we just have to distribute. So the value proposition of who are our neighbors, who are less fortunate, needs to be brought up, and we need to come up with a system to fix it, because we can fix it, and it's not, sometimes we get caught up with everything that happens this can be fixed in every major American city.
What do you think is the biggest challenge to facing the issue of food insecurity? As you note, here we are in 2025. How is it that kids in this country and other countries are still going hungry?
Well, I mean, it's rooted in laws that had to sort of be unpacked, right? And at a time of crisis, we respond quickly. During the pandemic, through my great friend, dear friend, Jose Andres, we worked a lot with World Central Kitchen. And Jose called me basically around March 15 and said, hey, do you think people would need us in Harlem? I said, do I think? Absolutely, Jose. Jose came up with his team within a week, and we started to serve food for the next 6 months out of Red Rooster. We became that place. We started with 100 people a day, then 400 people a day, then 800 people a day, then 1,500 people a day. And we did it in New York, New Jersey, Miami. No one cared who's Republican and Democrat. Guess what? Through World Central Kitchen, we have to solve it, right? When I work with World Central Kitchen through, let's say, the fires in California, right? Same thing. We come up with a system, and as chefs and as communities, we can't solve everything, but we can solve food insecurity. It's really about improving the system and changing the laws. That really goes back to Jim Crow. Now, do we have the capability and the know-how to do that? Of course we do. Do we want to do it? No, we don't. It's not like we don't have the capacity to do it. We are the richest country in the world. We have technology, we have the workforce to do it, but we just haven't put focus on it.
Let's talk about this beautiful space where we're sitting right now,
yes.
Marcus, DC. How does this restaurant reflect your values and your extraordinary journey and your desire to educate people?
Well, for me, the restaurant, it has to be part of a neighborhood, it has to be in a neighborhood and of a neighborhood, and it has to be delicious. And it has to be filled with hospitality and feel, when the guest walks in, it needs to feel like, yes, I'm coming home, or it was a stressful day, but now I'm here. And for me, as a restaurateur and a chef, it's really about starting those emotions and really building that journey with you. Let's have an hour and a half with you. For me, it's really about, from the moment you really going on our website and making that reservation, or just coming in, how do we make you happy? How do we make you feel at home? Regardless what your day was, regardless what you're not celebrating or celebrating, right? Because we don't know truly why you with us, but we know that we're going to take care of you. So for me, it's a very multifaceted experience. With DC, being Ethiopian, I used to come here in the 90s and the 2000s, not for food, because I was invited to Ethiopian celebration. So that idea that you can be an immigrant and Ethiopian and own your own business, like I'm Adams Morgan, that was very much in the center of this, right? That, wow, this was these Ethiopian entrepreneurs that did things, that worked for themselves. That was so inspiring to me. But guess what? DC, it's an extremely multicultural city because of the school system and because of universities, but also because of the embassies, right? So it wasn't just, when I say the Ethiopian community, I meant truly the whole immigrant community that is here. And a lot of them work in the hospitality community, right? The other layer was me coming here in the 2000s and, cooking for the Clintons, cooking for the Bushes, cooking for the Obamas, but also for the institutions here, the museums here, right? So it's multiple sort of back and forth. But then also, what does it mean to be an American? what does it mean to be Black American? So telling that story in the restaurant was extremely meaningful to me. To do it in the capital, right? So as you look through the restaurant, you see the grid of DC, but almost in an abstract form. You see patterns of Ethiopian or African, almost tribalism, that are just colors, but it means something. The center stage, for me, is really the guest, but we push that through the open big bar and the open kitchen, so we can tell the story. Who works here? Who's serving you? This is not just coming from an empty place. When I was at Line Cook in France, the kitchen was always behind a magical wall, and we were this invisible people. So sharing the journey between the invisible worker to the visible worker, well, that's both my grandmother's story and that's my journey, right? And then, of course, my Swedish past comes into the designs, whether it's the chairs that I've now designed, right? So it's an opportunity to tell Marcus DC, it's not a generic, it's specific journey that has to land on delicious.
How do you hope people feel after they eat one of your meals here?
I don't hope. I know people feel great, fantastic, because guests to our restaurant, we're very privileged and very excited about how busy we are in these very difficult times, right? I know a lot of restaurateurs, not just in DC, are working extremely hard. And, you know, the restaurant community, we always have to respond to what happens around us, right? When the unknown of cost of goods, we have to deal with that. When the labor market goes up and down, we have to deal with that. When the farms and the restaurant are getting raided, we have to deal with that. Not just as something that we see on social media, but something that is actually, it's real emotion. We know people in our community, in our very industry. And the cooks and the servers are not the ones that are creating issues. They're hardworking people with extremely passionate about being Americans and contributing. The cooks, the gardener, the server, the person who makes the beds at this hotel, they're not the ones creating issues. They're actually the ones that are adding to the American experience.
If your mom could see everything that you've accomplished, Marcus, if she were here today, what do you think she would say?
Now she's not with us anymore, but I brought my mom everywhere. And I have so much to thank both my mothers, both my Ethiopian mother and my Swedish mother. I remember actually here in DC doing a dinner cooking for Laura Bush when she was the first lady. And my mom, I invited my mom, and, you know, I said to Mom, meet the first lady. And my mom said, do you know they have free food at this place? I took some cookies and I put them in the bag. That's my mom in a nutshell. The food here is really good. I was like, thank you, Mom.
What an incredible memory.
Yes. That's my mom in a nutshell. Don't pass up an opportunity to get good food.
What do you think your accomplishments mean to your family in Sweden and your family in Ethiopia?
Well, I look at my journey both with my direct family, but also my extended family through the restaurant community. And it's really important that, you know, my kids see my wife and I loving this place, loving this country, and sharing through our work ethic, but also the experience, right? So when Zion and Grace come to our restaurants, that they're part of that experience, right? Zion wants to be a chef too, and so does little Grace as well. But for the larger extent of the restaurant family is that, you know, being a chef that was of color, that was very often an anonymous labor, can and should be a visible labor. Whether you have your catering company, whether you're cooking on TikTok, whether you cook in a restaurant, you know, put your dream high and aim it even higher, because you can do it. I'm an example of that.
What is next for you, Marcus?
Well, next is tonight's service, and we're going to get better. And I think that's really important, that just like the American experience is always improved on, and you're going to have a push and pull on that, so is restaurant work. Like it's daily. We improve, and we get feedback from our guests, from our team. And we never give up on trying to serve even more delicious meal, serve even better experience. I will never not think about that we can get better.
So you're at the top of your game, but you are still pushing yourself to find ways to get even better?
Of course. I mean, like what could be more experience than trying to get better? What could be more American than trying to get better, right? And what I love about being American, it's also a very competitive environment. And so that drives me. I love that. That's how we do get better, right? I love the fact that we have so many brilliant chefs in this city, or in New York, or Miami, or not just only in the major cities. The only way for us to improve is by competition. So I admire that, and I love that about our industry. And I think that there's never been more exciting time to be an American chef, because there's so many different ways to engage with the guests. Technology has now made it possible that food can be anywhere and everywhere. And those are the things that wasn't possible when I started working. So I have to evolve. And if I don't think it's exciting, if I'm not passionate about going to my restaurant, I should stop.
Marcus Samuelsson, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
It was wonderful to talk to you. Thank you. It was great.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or watch live on our YouTube channel.